Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, April 21st. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you. We've got a guest. He's been on the show before. In just a bit, he'll be joining us as well, Mohamed Jama. Looking forward to that. And looking forward to this Tuesday NHL Stanley Cup playoff card. 4 more games on tap. The Patreon members know it because it was posted earlier today on the Patreon page. And if you're not a Patreon member, we're going to let all of you know it right now.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
Our first Stanley Cup playoff betcast is tonight, and we are excited about it. We will be with you at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time tonight for the beginning of the first 2 games of the night, essentially. So there it is on screen. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. We will be with you for the 2 games in the Eastern Conference first round. Game 2 matchups, Montreal, Tampa Bay, Boston, and Buffalo. We will be on basically until both of those games are over, whenever that is. Hell, maybe you're going to get an extended 4-hour betcast if we have another double overtime game tonight. We'll see. But we will be with you until the conclusion of those 2 games, whenever that may be. So tonight, Patreon exclusive NHL Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. As always, our Patreon members will post the YouTube link exclusively on the Patreon page. And those of you that are Patreon members, get in touch with either of us, and we'll make sure we get the StreamYard link sent to you so that you can appear and join us here on the betcast tonight. And Alex, this is the first of 2 live betcasts we're doing this week for our Patreon members, and a couple of great games that we'll be on the air for. Montreal, Tampa, that was a great game 1. Thrilling comeback by Buffalo in the third period of their game 1 victory against Boston. 2 intriguing series to go live with on the betcast tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we love looking at these, live betcasts, especially in the playoffs. And now, zero in on those first 2 games, and there's like I said, some good matchups and definitely some spots that I like live. For looking forward to it tonight.
No doubt. So I just want to change the marquee. We got to make it special. There we go. Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast. I was frustrated not seeing that. We want to make it extra special. This is big time now. Stanley Cup playoffs, a live betcast here, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Very much looking forward to it. And last night, as we begin the recap of the Monday slate, my goodness, another great night of NHL hockey. It was in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It started with, I would say Philadelphia and Pittsburgh was a little bit of a slower game, not as exciting, but still it was very dramatic. It was tense. It was close pretty much from start to finish. And that's 2 games in a row where the Philadelphia Flyers, they essentially put the fucking wet blanket over the Pittsburgh Penguins. And it's been very, very impressive to watch. No question about it. Dan Vladar has been terrific in net. And they've been opportunistic. Another playoff goal. That's amazing stuff for Porter Martone. 2 playoff games in his career, and now 2 goals in each of those games. What a job by the Philadelphia Flyers last night to take a 2-0 series lead. They look slow. They look old. They look their age. They look long in the tooth. They're losing puck battles. Philadelphia is just not allowing them to get much going. Either they're not allowing Pittsburgh to generate speed, or Pittsburgh's lost their team speed. I don't know which one it is,
Right.
but they have looked very, very slow as far as, and I'm not just talking about skating speed slow. I'm talking about puck movement slow. I'm talking about thinking the game slow. We're seeing all of that showing up for the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first 2 games. And you got to give the Flyers credit, Alex, for making them play that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said it, before talking about the game yesterday, that, the speed and youth of Philly is starting to really kind of bloom and blossom. But like I said, Pittsburgh's gotten much slower and much older. It's like they're aging in triple time with each period that passes. And to see that, it's not is a case of, oh, Crosby can pick this team up and get them on their back. You saw Evgeny Malkin once again getting frustrated, taking dumb penalties. They seem to be losing it at the absolute worst time, and the same flip of the coin. You've got a Philly Flyers team that's starting to trust and believe in themselves, and having the young Porter Martone carrying this team, looking like a veteran already after playing what just basically a combination of 3 weeks of pro hockey, going back to the end of the regular season. Like, it's just absolutely incredible seeing this kind of flip happen in real time. But the Penguins are in absolute trouble after dropping the first two home games. And you got a great track record historically with Philadelphia. They get a 2-0 lead, they don't lose.
All right, there he is. We got him on with us now, Mohammed. Welcome into the show. Did we catch you training for the Boston Marathon a day too late or something? What's going on?
No, nothing like that. I just thought I'd pop outside. Nice day here in Edmonton. Don't get too many of those, so got to enjoy it while you can, right?
Speaking of the Boston Marathon, you guys see what fucking Zdeno Chara's doing in that Boston Marathon?
Yeah, that's
Unbelievable at his age, what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's running that thing, and he's breaking records and breaking personal bests and all this nonsense. And here I am sitting here like a dope at around his age doing this show. But that's nice.
3 hours and 20 minutes, Ian, man. That guy's a tank. He's a machine.
Great athlete.
Yeah. No doubt. Zdeno Chara, shout out to him running that Boston Marathon. So, Mohammed, your thoughts on the Battle of Pennsylvania here? I mean, the Flyers up 2-0. They just look like the better team right now. Sometimes it's just that simple.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think in the NHL in particular, coaches get enough credit. I think Rick Tocchet is right up there with the best. And he's going against a guy who's had a great season himself in Dan Muse. I just think Tocchet's system has really frustrated the Penguins. The broadcast made a good point last night, too, is that, Tocchet coached Crosby, Malkin, Letang. So he has an idea of what those guys like to do, what their tendencies are, both physically and psychologically. So
really good point.
I think Tocchet is a big edge for the Flyers. I will say I had high expectations for that series. It's been dog water, guys. Like, it's hard to watch. Like, if you have insomnia, watch that series. But that's,
I don't think it's been nearly as bad as you think, but it's not been as good as I wanted it to be either. Yeah, it's pretty clear.
I will say though that I feel bad for Skinner. He gets so much hate in this city. And so I've been kind of,
you know what? Of all the players to blame for where Pittsburgh's at after these first two games, he's like the lowest on the list.
Yeah, and you know what? It shows you people's lack of intelligence, because you go online and there's people still blasting him for this. I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, there was 2 goals scored on him last night. You take away the empty netter, 2 goals scored on him. One of them was a complete fluke, the Martone goal. Like, it goes off, connecting shot goes off, I think, Ryan Shea's leg right to Martone, right? Empty net. What's he going to do there? And then that shorthanded goal, just a bad giveaway. He has to commit to tip it, and then, Hathaway has an open net as well. So I just think Pittsburgh's mismanaging the puck a lot. I've never seen Crosby like this. He looks like he has no answers. Carlson will headman him the puck, and he'll miss it, or it'll be a bad pass. It'll be a turnover right back the other way, and he looks rattled. I mean, you saw that little spat he had with Sanheim, I think it was, the end of game 1. Usually you haven't seen that from him since he was like 20, 21, 22 years old. So it's going to be interesting. I know Crosby does do his best work against the Flyers in Philadelphia. I think sometimes that crowd gets him going. So we'll see if he has a response. I
better draw some inspiration from it. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's going to, game 3 will be the series. If you'll know pretty early, if Pittsburgh has a good first period, then you'll know that it's probably going to be a long series. If Philadelphia just smothers them in the first half of that game again, I think it's curtains.
Yeah, sometimes it's as simple as you got to get on the board first. You got to get the first goal for Pittsburgh in game 3. Somehow, somewhere, you got to play with the lead. You've been awful playing from behind throughout most of this series, and if that happens again, you're probably going to be in trouble again. I don't know what to say about Ottawa, Carolina. This game was just bonkers, man. It was a great game. It was a thrilling game. We thought an overtime winner by Mark Jankowski, my Dundas, Ontario fellow native here from my hometown. And then, of course, half the crowd left thinking the game had ended, apparently, at that moment, because they walked out before Ottawa. And it took a few minutes for Ottawa to decide to challenge that, but they did. And I think some of the crowd thought it was game over right then and there. And that's why the empty seats, in the double overtime, so, just some of them didn't come back or were too far down the road to come back and get back into the arena. But just crazy game. No, look, I took a shot with Ottawa last night. I don't feel bad about it. I really don't. I mean, I feel bad that they didn't win, but I'm not going to criticize Ottawa after that game last night. They were phenomenal. They had a great game. They were toe to toe with Carolina. In fact, the 2 overtime periods, they were the better team in the 2 overtime periods. Ottawa, no question about it. Without Artem Zub, which was a big loss on the blue line, they had the better opportunities in overtime. Now, I think the early part of the game, you could say Carolina was certainly outplaying them early, but I thought Ottawa got better as the game went on. But Tim Stützle's going to have fucking nightmares, man, after last night. How many chances did he have to put the puck in the net? Goalposts and, stopped by and Anderson was very good again outside of the bad goal to Cousins. Other than that, he was very good once again for Carolina. You can live with the bad goal considering what he did after that for the Hurricanes. But like I said, he's been that game was tremendous. Ottawa couldn't have asked for more from them. Jake Sanderson, what a warrior. 41 minutes of ice time last night for the Ottawa Senators. They had their chance. Amadio's chance. Oh, my God, how did he not score in overtime there for the Ottawa Senators? And so heartbreaking for those that had Ottawa. But the good, like I did, Alex took a shot as well. But we did have the draw. It was my first draw bet of these playoffs, and it was good to hit that, obviously, at plus 320 in that game last night. But I don't know what more Ottawa could have done, Alex. It was a great effort from them. It was a coin flip game. Could have easily went their way. I thought Allmark was spectacular in defeat for the Ottawa Senators last night. Goaltending was great both ways, and it just ended up being Jordan Martinook gets the last crack at it and the game winner to go up 3-2. It's just, how does Ottawa respond? The saving grace for Ottawa with the heartbreak, how gut-wrenching it was that they poured it all out there, felt like they could have won, felt like they should have won, and didn't. They get an extra day to recover, and that's huge for a guy like Sanderson, 41 minutes last night. But 2-0 down now, and the road got a little bit tougher, but you're not out of a series till you lose a home game, and obviously Game 3 now paramount.
Yeah, absolutely, and you'd rather have a loss like that in a Game 1, where you can kind of bounce back, a little bit quicker than in, say, a Game 2, where, like, yes, even though you're going home, you got an extra day to think about it. But it's going to be tough sledding now for Ottawa, even going home, to try to turn this around. The way that Carolina has played in this series, the way that Frederik Andersen has locked in to the series, that's the key, right? You want to try and get that goaltending rattle. Well, the goaltending's fine. And we've seen all year long, no matter which of the goaltenders it was, when the goaltending's going well for Carolina, that's when all the other dominoes seem to fall into place too. So it's going to be tough sledding for Ottawa moving forward. But like I said, hats off to Carolina hanging through and to not lose sight. We talk about it all the time about puck don't lie. When you have think you have a game winner, everybody's pretty much left out, and all of a sudden, no, that goal's coming back. That could have easily been a spot where Carolina could have just been absolutely flustered, and Ottawa takes advantage and take that game away from them. So that's huge for them to keep that focus and pass the overtime, go into the second overtime, get that win in a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, no question. It was a great win, obviously, for the Carolina Hurricanes, no doubt. And there was all kinds of people confused on Twitter about why were they allowed to shoot the penalty shot, after the offside was ruled, saying everything, prior to the offside was supposed to get, or after the offside was supposed to get wiped out. But the rule is that penalties issued during that time, even after the offside play took place, they're still issued, which includes not only 2-minute penalties, but penalty shots. And that's why that penalty shot attempt for Martinook was still allowed and awarded to them, despite the offside that negated the initial goal by Mark Jankowski. But Mohammed, that was a crazy game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was the best game to date in these playoffs. I thought it had excellent pace. I thought both teams were playing like it was Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. I thought that both goaltenders put on a great display. To me, like, those kind of games are where every goal is worth their weight in gold is way better than a 7-5, 7-6 game. Everything's a battle. The puck battles were intense. I think another thing going into that series too is that, I saw a lot of people picking Ottawa, and I was tempted to do so as well, even though I can't stand them personally, but just because of Tkachuk and Stützle, and there's a few guys on that team I don't like, but I'm sorry for another day. But I liked Carolina because both teams play very similar stylistically, and when that's the case, usually the team that just does it a bit better has a big advantage. And I think Carolina just is a little bit better than Ottawa in almost every facet. And with Anderson playing the way he is, and Allmark's answering, don't get me wrong. But I think Carolina is just doing enough to keep their advantages at every position and edge these games through. I mean, game one, I know it was 2-0, but that game was a toss-up as well. I mean, Ottawa gave up a couple of kind of goals off of bounces, or, well, the first one was a bit weak. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if Ottawa comes back and answers with 2 wins at home and we get a long series. But I just think in the end, Carolina is going to have that just little bit of extra that's going to be the difference, that edge. That Stankoven line has been a big difference maker. I don't think I would have expected that going into the series. I think guys like Aho and Ehlers still have a lot to give. So if the Carolina's top end guys start going, then maybe that's a bigger problem for Ottawa. But I think Ottawa is probably a good bet in game 3 to get back in the series.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard the last from them by any stretch of the imagination. Alex has a virtual doctor's appointment that he's going to have to leave for during the show. The doctor just called him, so that's why he's ducked out for a minute. He'll probably see if we can get him back a little bit later. But nevertheless, we move on to the West games. Shout out to the Dallas Stars. Nice bounce back from them. Everybody bounced back last night in that 4-2 victory. They were much better defensively. The penalty kill stepped up, after Minnesota's power play ripped them pretty good in game 1. Jake Ottinger was tremendous too. Not that he was bad in game 1. Jake Ottinger wasn't the problem in game 1. The whole team sucked. The whole team was shit. But he was really good. He made some terrific saves at key moments when Dallas was still leading. And it was a great win for the Dallas Stars. They got the big third goal from Jason Robertson. If the Minnesota Wild fans they'd be more than happy to never see Jason Robertson ever again, because all this guy does is torch them and the Minnesota Wild in his career. And he scores again against the Wild last night. By the way, in that empty net goal, which put it over the total, which I was happy about, that's a lesson for Quinn Hughes. Never give up on a play. If he had not stopped skating just for that 1/10 of a second, that one pace there, he probably would have caught up to that puck rolling into the empty net off the stick of Wyatt Johnston there in that final minute. But that was the goal that put it away 4-2 in that one. Brock Faber was terrific in the losing cause for Minnesota. A couple of goals from him last night. But Dallas, much better team effort, and they certainly, after getting pretty much hemmed in and just, losing all the puck battles. We said it. They looked slow. They lost every puck battle in game 1. Much better compete. Much, much better in that regard from Dallas in game 2. And Dallas does what they've done often, lose game 1 and bounce back and win game 2 and tie up the series. And Mohammed, they did it again last night.
Yeah, that's a big win. I saw a lot of people picking Minnesota. I know your guys' buddy Jimmy Murphy on his podcast gave out Minnesota, I think, plus 130 or plus 125, whatever they were.
And I get it for those that
and
did.
I couldn't blame him. I didn't buy him blame. I just, that game or that series, I don't feel comfortable picking games just because, quite frankly, I don't know what Ottinger is going to show up game to game. And Dallas at times looks slow. Like, I know Foligno in his post-game presser said that 5-on-5, they can't play with us. They want to play the game 5-on-4, and we kind of let him do that tonight. And he blamed himself for taking some penalties, which I kind of agree with. Now I want to see. I don't think Heiskanen's 100%, and that's a big thing for them. He is their blue line, and yeah, you've seen it over the last couple of years. The minutes that guy plays, the responsibility that guy shoulders is probably as big as it is across the league in terms of number one defenseman. So they don't really have a whole lot of offense coming off their blue line other than that. I think that series has potential to go 7. But I think to do so, I think Dallas definitely has to pick up their 5-on-5 play. And I need to see more from guys like Wyatt Johnson on 5-on-5. I know he scored yesterday. He got the empty netter. Rantanen hasn't been his best. So it's going to be a tough uphill battle. I think the wrong team's been favored in that series. Is it a big margin? No, but I think it's going to be tough for Dallas. And then, if they do get through Minnesota, they're going to have to deal with Colorado most likely. So we'll see. Gulletson, as you guys have talked about lately, hasn't won much in the playoffs, hasn't won at all in the playoffs. So maybe that win will be a big confidence boost for him. and that'll filter through the rest of the team. But I think you have a long series ahead there.
Like I said, that's going to be a long series. I felt it would be. 1-1 is kind of where I felt this series would be, quite honestly, going back to Minnesota for Game 3. But nice response from Dallas. And I'll tell you what, I was petrified and scared about Anaheim going into this series because I hated their defensive form, their penalty killing, the goaltending, everything about this team. And I still worry about it because, again, they had a 3-2 lead in the third last night, coughed it up, and lost 4-3. But I was impressed with the pushback. Like, that was a devastating end to the first period, going down 2-0 to the Edmonton Oilers in that first period. And for a young team, they looked like they were going to get out of that period scoreless, and then bang, bang, 2 goals late in the first. I thought, boy, Anaheim could get run out of the building now. And for them to respond and go up 3-2 and to get the 3 unanswered goals in the second period, to go up 3-2. Now they had a little Utah Mammoth moment. The same thing that happened to Utah against Vegas in the third period on Sunday night happened to Utah. It's a young team trying to protect a 1-goal lead on the road in the third period, and sometimes you're just not ready to do that. And we kind of saw that last night from Anaheim, just like we saw it with Utah against Vegas. But I still don't think they're going to win the series, Anaheim. I think Edmonton's going to beat them, but at least, Mohammed, based on last night, I was a little bit more optimistic that Anaheim can make this a competitive series.
Yeah, you know what? I would echo those sentiments. You know this well. I think, Alex does as well. Born and raised here in Edmonton, still here. Can't stand the Oilers. Like, fan base, the organization.
As you know, if you watched him before on the show, he's a Habs fan in Edmonton. Yeah.
Yeah. So the entire organization, the fan base, all of it. So going into this series, I was telling some of my friends, you get to buy. Like, I don't, the way Anaheim looked down the stretch, I think they were 2-11 in their last 13, losing to Calgary, St. Louis convincingly, Vancouver, in a game they had to come back in just to get to overtime. The list goes on, and every game they played, it was just like, yeah, they're not winning. They're very porous on the back end still. I cannot believe, having said all that, and you're right, they deserve a lot of credit for pushing back in that building down 2-0, going into the second period after giving up 2 late goals. I was shocked because I was watching the overtime of the Ottawa-Carolina game, and I looked and I was like, my God, it's 2-1, it's 2-2, it's 3-2 Anaheim. Like, I did not see that coming. But that late game sequence where Gudas toe picks and allows, I think it was Ekholm coming in just to fire the puck off of Dostal's pad and get Dickinson that open net to tie the game. And then Edmonton takes the lead only for, with a minute and a half to go or whatever it was, only for Granlund to miss a wide open net, McKinnon style.
Yeah.
That was really tough to watch.
He just shot it too much into the where Ingram was stationed at that point. There was a wide open part of the net, and he could have put it there, and it's ended up putting it that way toward where Ingram was, and it just hit him. I wouldn't even say it's a phenomenal save by Ingram. It just happened to hit him, and it was shot right at him.
You know what, Ian? I don't think it was even a save because he was out of the net. Like, it wouldn't have hit the net, right? And the way they track shots, I almost guarantee that wasn't a shot. So.
Scope on his rifle was off. That's why it didn't go in.
Yeah. And you know what? Of all the guys that you'd want to have that shot, he'd be at the top of the list. He's probably their most accomplished veteran. I know Killorn has been to a lot of, cup finals. But I mean, in terms of skill and a veteran combo, I mean, Granlund's probably the guy you'd want with the puck on the stick there, and just didn't work out. So I just had to laugh. I was like, I feel like the Oilers have some sort of horseshoe up their ass a lot of the time, and came back last night. But I never expected Anaheim to win this series. We'll see. But it's probably, I think that series is probably over in 5. I think the Oilers run into trouble next round.
Yeah, like I said, I thought for me watching that game, I was very impressed with that Anaheim had a response after going down 2-0. Like I said, I was thinking, wow, it's going to really get ugly for them. It didn't happen. It was a good night for props. Yes, we had Kapanen Kasperi Kapanen for Edmonton was one of our goal props there in that game. We had the bargain bin, one of the two cashing in for us with Dylan Cousins for the Ottawa Senators, the workhorse from Whitehorse gets it done for us. The best bet hits Anaheim Edmonton over 6.5, and we figured that was going to be one of the higher scoring first round series matchups, and it certainly started out that way last night. between them. So good night overall, profitable. We'll take it. As far as actually, I wouldn't say it was profit. It was like break even, but we had a good end of the night. The best bet hitting helped hit some props. We'll take it, and we'll move on to Tuesday here in this 4-game slate, which will be part of our betcast tonight. We'll be on for the 2 Eastern Conference games, and then our other betcast later in the week will be for the 2 Western games. So that's the way we're going to be doing it with the betcast. Eastern games tonight, and the other betcast later this week will be obviously for the Western Conference games. All right, let's begin with this is the part of the show Mohammed's most excited about. His team, the Montreal Canadiens, taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. We got Tampa Bay minus 190, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this one. 6 in some spots, so shop around when it comes to the total. Montreal leading 1-0 thanks to a 4-3 overtime win. That was a great hockey game, except it was way over officiated. Way over officiated. The officiating was not good. Both teams had gripes. Both teams had reasons to be upset throughout that game, but there were issues galore with the officiating, and certainly it became kind of a special teams bonanza. We'll see if we can get a little bit more 5-on-5 even strength play here tonight against the with these two teams head to head. When I look at this game, I pointed out the numbers yesterday on the recap show. We've got this, I guess, bias to Tampa Bay that we think of this team as this great dominant juggernaut from the years and years they were in the Cup final and winning Stanley Cups and going deep into the playoffs. That has not been the Tampa Bay Lightning since 2023. I mean, I'll rhyme it off again. You know what they are in their last 17 playoff games, Tampa Bay? They're 4-13. And the same goes for Andrei Vasilevsky, their goaltender. And do you know what they are at Amalie Arena tonight, the site of Game 2? Do you know what they are in their last 11 home playoff games? They're 1-10. 1-10, this Tampa Bay Lightning team in their last 11 home playoff games. So I get it. Down 1-0. Don't want to go back to the insane asylum known as the Bell Center for Game 3, down 2-0 in this series. I expect, Tampa Bay to try to come out storming here in this game. But minus 190 with a track record of 4-13 overall in the playoffs coming into tonight and 1-10 in their last 11 home playoff games coming in tonight, no shot that I'm laying minus 190. None. Zero on the Tampa Bay side. I wouldn't be shocked if Montreal takes both in there from what I saw. Dobish was good. Vasilevsky, look, a lot of those were one-timers, good shots. Of course, Juraj Slafkovsky was a beast. We talked about it, the hat trick. I thought Josh Anderson proved why he's a guy you'd want in your lineup in the playoffs with what he was able to do for them. And he always seems to score a big goal in a Stanley Cup playoff series. He's done it for years, going all the way back to when he was with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He did it when John Tortorella coached there. So that's a guy you want in there in the playoffs. Nick Suzuki's turned into one of the most dominant, two-way centers at the number one center spot in the league. Defensively, just impeccable. And like I said, it was very impressive what I saw. And their power play is lethal. Tampa Bay came into this series, people talking about their power play. Well, Montreal can get it done with the man advantage, and they showed it, obviously, in Game 1. I'm going to go back to the well with over 5.5 here. I think it's just going to be one of those series where now what I worry about is that after Game 1's penalty parade, either the NHL is going to send some kind of mandate out to the officials and say, hey, stop it. We got to get more 5-on-5 play. You got to relax with the calling every little thing here in this series. So that concerns me a little bit about this over, but at 5.5, I'll still jump in on it. I think it could get to 6 goals here once again between these two teams. And I'm going to take a shot here with dog and team the money line and team total over split is what I'm going to go with here. I know it's a bounce back spot for Tampa, but they've lost multiple home games in a row. How many times you've lost count? How many times they've lost multiple home games in a row in the playoffs over the last few years? This is not some dominant home ice anymore for Tampa Bay, and I think they had real problems on their hand going into this one. So I'll go with the full game over. Of course, I'm still staying away from first period overs for the time being. Now, I know we had Anaheim-Edmonton first period over and Minnesota-Dallas first period over. The first 2 first period overs of the entire playoffs so far to cash in. But so I'm still reluctant, though, to go that route. But I'll go full game over, and I'll go Canadiens money line, team total over 2.5 split here in this one. Mohammed, what do you think here? Your abs were impressive in Game 1. How do you see it going tonight?
Yeah, no, before I get to the game itself, and you touched on it a bit, the NHL officiating needs a complete overhaul. Like, I don't know how they're training these guys, what their process is, how they're scouting these officials, how, what their evaluation process is, but it needs a complete overhaul. The NFL gets a lot of heat, for their guys in the mid 60s and early 70s and even late 70s running around, and people saying they can't keep up with the play and they're not good enough, they're blind, this and that. The NHL's worse, man. Like, that game was a joke. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some bad ref games before. The one here in Edmonton when Montreal played was worse, but this one was right up there. Like that Anderson, if you look at the Capitals series, for example, last year, Wilson committed about 50 hits, 100 times worse than that, didn't get penalized once. Guys were cross-checking guys in the face. I don't know. The Anderson call was just ridiculous. Slavkovsky taps a guy's stick, drops it, penalty. I don't know. I thought, Ian, when the game went 2-1, if you remember, the game went 2-1 right away. Like, Tampa scored on a power play after a really weak call. And then immediately after, Hagel scores after the Anderson penalty. And I thought, man, young team, I thought the game was going to swing. And to their credit, I thought they were going to start going berserk. But St. Louis, I wish he would get more emotional on the bench, but he doesn't. And maybe that helped calm them down because they responded. I mean,
he showed some emotion in that game, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be more, to be honest with you. I wanted to see more, but they showed it in the right way because they came back and won the game. But, just numbers-wise, you look at it, I know there's some people saying they stole the game. Like, scoring chances were 15-6 Montreal. High danger chances at even strength 8-1 Montreal. Like, it actually was the other way around. Like, they dominated the game. They just didn't have a lot of shot volume. But it was just a low event game. There wasn't much going on 5-on-5. The Suzuki line got shut down. That's just, to me, is a good sign. They won the game with Suzuki and Caulfield having I think Caulfield had one shot attempt. They won the game with those guys really not playing very well. So I think that's a good sign for them. Stylistically, Tampa wants to slow the series down. They want to slow the game down. And I think Montreal, to have long-term success, needs to do a better job of speeding it up. I think they need to attack a little bit more off the rush. That's the one issue I have with Montreal, is I find that they, especially in first halves of games, they let the other team dictate the pace, and which is slow it down because Montreal's a fast, skilled team, right? So I'd like them to be a little bit more assertive that way. Their power play, great. No complaints after a slow finish to the season. I think they were just trying to get Caulfield his cookies, but their penalty kill is what bothers me. And so if you watch Tampa Bay and really any team that plays Montreal, the Habs have to work so hard to enter the zone. And everything's contested. Suzuki's getting pressured up upon because they know he's the head of the snake, and as is Hudson, right? In the zone and out of the zone. Montreal's penalty kill is what really bothers me. They tend to just give up the zone entry really easily and then go and compress their box inside the hash marks and the insides of the circles. And I think eventually that's going to burn them. So I think they need to be a little bit more aggressive that way. Otherwise, guys like Kucherov are just going to have too much time and space. As far as this game goes, I feel the same way as the series. Who priced this? Why was Tampa Bay as big of a favorite as Edmonton was against Anaheim? Why?
That's the reason I'm on Montreal tonight. It's not because I don't think Tampa can win. They clearly can. This is about betting prices, not teams. And this, to me, should not be minus 190 with Tampa. They're 1-10 in their last home playoff games. What the hell are we doing here? Minus 190? Really? Yeah. When they were toe-to-toe in the regular season? These two teams, there was this much of a gap between them. You know how close they were for home ice advantage for that second spot in the Atlantic Division? I'm mystified Tampa's this big of a favorite, even in a bounce back spot. It's too high. Too high.
Yeah. No, and if you want to say there's a tax, right, for coming in as in a must-win spot at home, I get it, but not this much of one. And the series is the one that gets me. Like, I looked at the price and I was like, and I saw people on Twitter pricing it out in their models as like higher, minus 230, minus 240, not the minus 200 in the models. Like, what are you guys putting in your models, man? Like, Tampa Bay the last 3 years has done absolutely nothing. Now, I know they lost to Florida the last 2 years, but those series weren't close. They were done in 5. Vasilevsky struggled the last. So that series in 2023 against Toronto, he was the reason they lost. Like, you go back and watch those games. Like, he had an 880, and he was getting beat from distance. Like, Lalonde on Hockey Night in Canada was talking about how they watched a bunch of film and they realized that if you throw the puck at him from distance with some screens, he doesn't track it very well. Now he struggled. Kucherov, I said this on Twitter. You might have seen it. One even strength goal in his last 43 playoff games.
Yeah.
One. For a guy that has that many puck touches, right, and is on the ice as much as he is in high pressure or high.
And if you remember in that exit to Florida last year, he did absolutely nothing. Nothing. Completely shut down Kucherov against the Panthers last year.
That's what I'm surprised nobody's talking about is game one. I thought the Demidov line was going to be in trouble playing against Kucherov. They had a 70% goal share, Demidov line. Like, they were one of Montreal's best, probably their best line, 5-on-5. So Kucherov, Kucherov and Point did absolutely nothing all game. I don't know. Like, I am obviously hoping for Montreal. So this game too, I don't want to be greedy and touch it. But what I will do is, if they lose, I will definitely bet them game 3. That's my plan. I had a small bet on them game 1, came through, but if they lose this game, which I think is a coin flip, again, I thought this series should have been like Tampa -115, not freaking -200.
Yeah.
Just because of
That's why I'm on Montreal. I'm not on Montreal because I necessarily think that they're going to go up 2-0. Tampa could easily win this game and tie the series, but I need Tampa to be -120, 30 for me to bet Tampa Bay. -190 to me, value is Montreal, win or lose.
Yeah.
So that's
what I would recommend to people. Look, like, if you didn't bet them game 1, take them game 2 because it's a great price, and if they lose, then have a way bigger bet on because I really do believe Montreal is the better team. I just do. If you look at team speed, their power play, I think, is better. Their top end guys, I think, if I would take Montreal's top 5 over Tampa's top 5. I know some people would disagree with that because Tampa's top 5 have more experience and have more playoff experience, but I don't know, man. Other than Brandon Hagel, I didn't see a whole lot that Tampa had in that game. So
he was their best forward, no question.
Yeah,
easily.
I think he was the best guy on the ice, but he was great. But yeah, I don't know, man. This isn't the Tyler Johnson, Steven Stamkos, Alex Killorn Tampa Bay either. So I don't know. People hang on to certain franchises a little too long, and I think that's what's going on here with Tampa Bay.
Yeah. All right. As far as props go, I'm going to run it back with Hagel and Uri. Slavkovsky's just a big game player. We saw the Olympics with Slovakia. That it's worth a shot as far as his props. Once again, Josh Anderson, I don't mind running that back. Darren Radish. I know it's the guys that scored last game. Maybe that's not necessarily the players that are going to make an impact offensively tonight, but I think there's reasons to want to go back to the well with many of them. Newhook is someone that had some looks too the other night, so keep an eye on him. I think for Tampa Bay, though, I'm also going to get involved just a little bit with Gonzalez and Paul. Nick Paul on the third line, and maybe a little bit to Gonzalez because he still appears to be playing with Point and Kucherov on the top line here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And like I said, that's another thing too. Vasilevsky, he wasn't the better goalie either in game 1. Dobish outplayed. It was close, but Dobish outplayed him a little bit. And now Vasilevsky's got a 3.4 goals against average and 880 save percentage in the playoffs now, the last 3 years. So that's not Vasilevsky-like. That's not vintage Vasilevsky, those numbers. 880 save percentage, 3.4 goals against average. That's in particular why I like the team total tonight, over 2.5. Because if Vasilevsky plays to form of the last few years, Montreal can easily get 3 goals tonight, for sure.
Ian, one thing I want to add too is I don't think it's going to happen, at least not in game 2 because they won. But I would really like them for Montreal to take the Bolduc. He doesn't back check. He took a couple of really bad penalties.
Yeah, I agree. That was disappointing from him. Yeah.
And
people
I'm really
were a little upset Brendan Gallagher didn't get in and Bolduc did instead, just
As
for the heart and soul aspect. Yeah. I know his foot speed ain't great, but I don't know.
I mean, you know this. He's my cousin, and I'm hard. I've been someone who said he needs to come out at times, but the way that I think Tampa Bay is going to try and win this series, I think you saw it in game 1. They're going to try and take a little bit of a page out of Washington's book and try to bully, right?
Yep.
And he's a guy that will stand up to it. He'll get in a guy's face. He'll hit the guy back. He'll get in a scrum. I mean, Bolduc's 22 years old. He's a big guy, but that's not what he's going to bring on a consistent basis. And he's got those defensive liability issues. So I don't really know why they wouldn't at least give that a game and see how it looks. But, you know, that's out of our wheelhouse. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's right. And you can't be scared to bet a team, you know, when they're up 1-0 on the road to go up 2-0. Look, Philly was able to do it last night, win 2 in a row on the road. So we'll see, like I said, if Montreal can follow suit. All right, Boston, Buffalo. The other East first round game 2 tonight will be on the betcast for this game as well. Buffalo minus 170, home favorites, 6 the total. Buffalo up 1-0. I think if you're Boston, you had a chance to get that game. That was your game to get. You were the better team for a good chunk, and you let Buffalo off the hook with that comeback. I don't know if they're going to get one now in Buffalo. And let's not forget, even though Boston outplayed Buffalo for well over 2 periods into the third, this is still not a great road team. The road has been a problem, you know, all season long here for this Boston Bruins team. And, you know, I don't have that full, and just the gut-wrenching aspect of how that game just crumbled for them in the third period, and the collapse up 2-0, end up losing 4-3. You know, I think that's going to be tough. And I think Buffalo's got a better game in them. And I think Buffalo got the playoff jitters out of the way. I think some of it, too, was that, right? Buffalo, a little bit that first game, the home crowd, a lot of pressure on them. You know, I think now they can relax, right? We got away with one. We weren't the better team for over 2 periods. I think Buffalo's got a much better game in them. I don't know if Boston does. It's really that simple. So I could only look at Buffalo. Now, I'm not going to lay minus 170. So I'm going to go with this team total here on Buffalo. I agree exactly with what Perlo was looking at in the chat, the team total here for the Sabres, over 3.5 in this game. Keep in mind, they played, you know, a game that they weren't really all that good, and somehow, some way, there they are with how many goals at the end of the night? 4. And they didn't even get close to playing their A game. So, yeah, I like that team total for Buffalo. It's plus money, plus 102 at FanDuel, plus 116 for over 3.5. Buffalo team total at Pinnacle. It's a great price. I'm on that. That's the primary bet for me here when it comes to this game. Live over 5.5. I'm going to see if I can wait to get a 5.5 on this live over, and then I'll jump in. But the primary look here is Sabres team total over 3.5. I think Boston just flat out missed their opportunity to win a game in Buffalo, and I don't see the Sabres playing that poorly again on home ice. In fact, they're going to be relaxed now. Now they got that taste of playoff hockey for all the guys that have never been there before in the playoffs now with that game 1 experience. I think they'll be better tonight. And like I said, Sabres team total over 3.5 for me. What do you think here, Mohammed? Bruins Sabres.
Yeah, I think that the way that first game played out was a nightmare for Boston. I was a bit surprised. I looked back at the expected goals because from the pieces, I didn't see much of the game, but from the pieces of the game that I saw, Buffalo didn't seem all that engaged, but expected goals wise, they came out 4.4 to Boston's 1.8. So those, you know, analytically,
that's dominance. If you buy into those numbers, Mohammed, expected goals, that was clearly still all Buffalo.
Yeah,
I didn't feel that way because I thought a lot of their chances weren't grade A. They did have a huge shot at advantage. I was actually surprised to hear you say that and see that myself, that it was actually over 4 expected goals for Buffalo to fewer than 2 for Boston in that game.
Yeah. So when I saw that, just, you know, when I was prepping for the show, because I didn't get to see much of the game, I was kind of shocked. And I saw your tweet about the building kind of being a little flat for a lot of that game. I know I tuned in a little bit in the first and then early in the second before I saw the end of the game because I was watching Montreal. And I was shocked too about how quiet that place was. I thought it was going to be a madhouse, and it really wasn't. It was a madhouse out on the street when they would show clips of those guys on the rail. But inside the arena, it was until they started coming back. I even saw you saying, I didn't hear this, but I saw you tweeting that they were booing for a little bit, or somebody tweeted that.
Well, they were when it was 2-0, and they had a couple of shitty power plays early in the third when they were down 2-0. The crowd was getting antsy, restless, upset, frustrated.
Yeah. Yep. So if you're Boston and you lose that game, that has me worried for them. That, not that I'm a huge Boston guy, but just as for the sake of a competitive series, it has me concerned. Like that's the type of scenario that turns into a sweep. when you just blow and choke a game away, even analytically, even a game that maybe you didn't deserve to win,
That's
when you're up
because it
2-0.
happens so suddenly too. Like they're in
Yeah.
complete control, and then bang, 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 3 goals right away, and
Yeah.
then the empty netter after that. It's just
Like
it's
at 2-0. At 2-0, you're
like a
thinking,
2x4
okay,
upside the head. Yeah.
yeah, no, you're thinking, okay, at very worst, this game somehow finds its way to overtime. That's what you're thinking, right? But then when it's 3-2 with 2.5, 3 minutes to go, and you're going like, what? I actually couldn't. I was watching the last 5 or 6 minutes, and I was just like, what the heck is going on here? And Swayman has a tendency to, like, not that those goals were horrible. I didn't like the wraparound. I thought he should have been able to get over, but he has a tendency to play outstanding for 45 minutes and then just have a stretch where he lets in 2 or 3 goals that you're just kind of going, what the hell? You did all of that just to kind of fall on your face. I kind of felt bad for Boston, as weird as that sounds, because I definitely am no Boston fan, but it's going to be tough to recover from. I guess we'll find out. Sturm's done a very good job there all season. This is where coaching comes in. How can you kind of mentally and psychologically replenish your team 48 hours later? We'll see. I think Buffalo's going to kind of roll in this game. I just get that feeling. I don't like laying. I've told you this before. I don't lay juice in the NHL. Like I'll go minus 125. That's about as high as I'll go, just because hockey's such a volatile sport. Puck bounces off a guy's ass. Bad turnover, goalie falls on his face. That can really just swing a game. So, and then a game goes to overtime, it's really 50-50 at that point as well. So what I would recommend to people is just to go Buffalo money line over 4.5, parlay that. You get about even. I think it's minus 108 is when I put it in last night, and it might have changed, but it wouldn't have changed that much. So you can get that at about minus 108. That's what I would say, because I think Buffalo gets to 4 at least, and then all you need is 1 from Boston, you cash. So that's what I would tell people to do in that game.
I think that's a solid approach. Yeah, as far as props for this game, I do want to point out some things regarding shots on goal. Benson, we've talked about him. Zach Benson's gone over his 1.5 shots on goal 3 straight games, and it's only minus 145. Maybe something to consider as far as that goes going into this one. As far as points, we've got some streaks going on here where we've got Alex Tuch on a 3-game point streak. It's only minus 125 for him to get a point. Here's one that's a little down the radar value. Owen Power. I've got the power. Owen Power for the Buffalo Sabres. He has collected a point in 3 straight games, and you can get him at plus 190 to get a point, plus 200 in some spots. Owen Power on the blue line for the Buffalo Sabres. So that, to me, has some value. Goal prop, point prop, or both. Pavel Zacha, I could see it for the Bruins tonight. No question. Tuch has scored in 3 straight games. So as far as goal props, Tage Thompson goals in back-to-back games. You mentioned Morgan Geekie before game 1. He scored for Boston one of their 2 goals, one of their 3 goals, I should say, and has scored in back-to-back games. And I'm going to go back to the well with, as far as goal props, Benson, Norris, and the 2 Joshes. Benson and the 2 Joshes. Benson, Norris, and Doan for the Buffalo Sabres. I'm looking at their props as well tonight in this game. I think they're players that are going to be active and involved in the play. I think they're worth a look. Yeah, go ahead, MJ.
I was just going to say, Ian, I forgot to mention too, matchup-wise, I think that Buffalo is a tough one for Boston, just in the sense that Boston's bottom 6 wants to lean on you, play physical hockey, and Buffalo has such a big mobile blue line that they're hard to get to. And then even when you do get to them, they can absorb that contact so well, because they're all like 6'3 plus, 6'3, 225, 230. They add Shen. So I just think that the way Boston wants to try and wear you down, they're not really going to have success doing that against Buffalo. Their chance will come in game 3, I think, to maybe get some sort of something going in the series. But I think game 2 is going to be all Buffalo just for that reason.
All right, let's go out west. Utah and Vegas. Now, we aren't going to stay on the betcast for the entirety of the 2 games out west, but we will probably be on still for the start of these games, because the East games won't be over till about 10:30 Eastern. And this one in particular starts at, I believe, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Utah and Vegas. We've got Vegas, minus 150 home favorites, 6 the total, 1-0 series lead for the Golden Knights. So when I look at game one, I like Vegas in game one. I had the team total over 3.5. We cashed that. We did have the over by Fecta. We lost the first period over, and of course we know first period unders were ruling in game one of the first round. But we did cash the full game over in that Utah-Vegas game one, 4-2 victory for the Golden Knights. But when you look at that game one, even like we said, we were worried about Utah, first playoff experience. That was actually a pretty even hockey game. In fact, if you look at, and I'm not a big money puck fan, but in the playoffs, I look at it more because it's game to game. It's the same two teams facing each other. So you do kind of want to know who kind of carried the play. And Utah, you could even argue, had a slight edge in play at times over Vegas. And the expected goals for that game were 3.68 to 2.91 in favor of Utah, believe it or not, even though it was a Vegas 4-2 victory in game one. They couldn't protect the lead. Again, Karel Vejmelka issues rule the roost. I mean, 2.91 expected goals, but Vegas ends up scoring 3 plus the empty netter, which tells you, again, the concerns were warranted about Karel Vejmelka coming into the playoffs, that his form down the stretch for the Utah Mammoth just was not that great. We'll see how it goes here in this one, but Utah did score first in game one, in that late first period goal, courtesy of Logan Cooley. And that game was way more even than maybe the 4-2 final score would indicate. So I'm going to go with Utah for a goal in the first period and first period for Utah. I do think this team showed me enough that I think they're going to come out with a strong effort, strong pushback after a tough loss in game one. We have seen at times. By the way, here's one thing with Tortorella since he got there. The record's great for Vegas. They've given up the first goal in a bunch of these games, even though they've been winning them for the most part. There's been a lot of these games where Vegas has won, but they've given up the first goal. So I think Utah, a goal in the first goal, first period, which will be at a plus price. But maybe just to be safe, just to get a goal in the first period, the Utah Mammoth. I think that's a good look here in this game because they did it in game one. And I expect now that they've had a game under their belt, kind of like we talked about with Buffalo earlier, they'll be a little more, I don't want to say relaxed, but they'll just be, they'll know what's coming, because they got that first game under their belt the other night. So I could see, them getting on the board in the opening 20 minutes. I kind of think Utah has a shot here to tie this series before it goes back to the Delta Center for game 3. So I kind of lean to the plus price here with the Mammoth, but I love the draw here. It's a great draw spot to me. This is the draw that I like the most tonight on the board. I think we got a real good chance for overtime tonight. If you remember Vegas and Minnesota last year, I think it was the first round with the Golden Knights and the Wild. I remember that very well. That Vegas, if you look at that series, just make sure I pull up the history from last year. They won game one 4-2 at home. Same score as game one with Utah Vegas on Sunday. And then they lost game two to Minnesota at home 5-2. Now, that draw didn't hit in that game, but the point is they didn't go up 2-0 in that series, the Vegas Golden Knights. It was 1-1 going back to Minnesota. So that's why I'm leaning dog here with Utah. I might sprinkle on that a little bit, and I like the draw. I would definitely like the draw. I think there's a real shot we have overtime here. Carter Hart and Vejmelka will be the goaltenders once again for this game as expected. I was impressed for a lot of inexperience and a lot of youth on this Mammoth team, how they played in game one. They had a solid first period. They got the first goal. They were up 2-1 going into the third, but they had the youth moment that Anaheim had in the third period last night, where third period lead on the road for a young team that's not used to playoff hockey, it's hard to hold that lead. Utah found that out. Anaheim found that out. Like I said, I think in this one here, I like the Utah goal in the first period. Look, FanDuel's got that right now. I'm just bringing it up on my screen here. Minus 130 for Utah just to get a goal in the first period. Like that price, like that number. That's definitely worth a look. I'm not betting unders in this series yet. It's going to have to show me Utah was too much of an over machine down the stretch. First period overs and especially full game overs. In fact, now first period overs have kind of tapered off with Utah a little bit lately, but the full game overs are still cashing at a really high level for them. So, I really like the game one first period or full game over. I could only look over once again here with these two teams. Not to mention, I'm looking at that Vegas Minnesota first round last year. First two games in that series at home for Vegas was the 4-2 game one and the 5-2 game two. So they both went over the total. So be careful. I think this is an over series until proven otherwise for me when it comes to the total. MJ, what do you think here? Game two, Utah Vegas.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think this is a bit of a tougher scenario. If Vegas had lost game one, I would love them here. I think they are the better team. I was really down on them all year. I thought they were like bottom 10 caliber for most of the year, just the way they were playing. I think the coaching change has done wonders for them. Their forecheck's a lot better again. They're kind of getting back to that north-south play that, guys like Stone have had so much success with. Their blue lines getting more physical again. I think some of the depth acquisitions that they made, getting Dowd, guys like that have helped. But I think the biggest thing, honestly, is Carter Hart is just so much better than Adin Hill. I thought Adin Hill last year, particularly in the playoffs, kind of looked like, for lack of a better term, a beached whale, just couldn't move. And his lateral mobility was really struggling. Pucks were going through him for such a big guy that wears so much equipment. That's not a good thing either. I've been really impressed with Carter Hart. He's an athletic guy that he started off. I mean, he hadn't played in how long, so he wasn't great to start off, but he's clearly found it. And I think that's also given Vegas a lot more confidence. I thought Utah was really dangerous off the rush in game one. Cooley was really good. Dylan Guenther, another guy from Edmonton here, had like 1.3 expected goals in that game, which is as one of the highest numbers I've seen in a long time. I think Slavkovsky was like 2.08 and he was 1.3, and those were by far the biggest numbers that I've seen through the first number of games here. But I thought that game one was really physical. I thought both teams played like they really wanted it. And I saw Alex tweet, and I have been saying the same thing. A lot of these buildings have been lacking in terms of atmosphere, and a lot of these games have sort of followed suit. That was one where I thought the intensity was at a pretty high level. I expect that to continue. For me, it just comes down to liking Hart so much more than Vejmelka. If you watch Vejmelka, it kind of plays like a road hockey goalie. Like he slides around in the net. He'll get out of, like, he'll kind of do what you saw Ingram do last night against Anaheim, where he slides right out of the cage and just exposes so much net. He gets beat 5-hole all the time, pucks along the ice. I can't get behind him. I like Utah's forwards. Don't love their blue line. Sergachev is their big kind of physical guy back there, and I thought he was kind of getting pushed around in scrums, which I thought was a little weird. Kolasar was kind of having his way with him at the end of the game. It was almost like Kolasar was telling him, "You don't want to fight me," and he kind of obliged and walked away. I don't know. I just think Vegas is going to be better. I thought that they kind of played their C+ game in game one. The forecheck wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Marner and Eichel were just so.
Yeah, I agree. Yep,
yeah,
totally agree.
I think they appear at some point in this series. I think Vegas has been around long enough that, and especially Tortorella, he's going to be telling those guys, look, you're going to be going into a hornet's nest in games 3 and 4. Let's get this one. Let's go up 2-0. We didn't play all that great in game one. You talked about it with the analytics. I thought it was a toss-up game. Utah could have won the game. I think Vegas will be better here. I think Hart gives them the edge in net, and I think they win the game. I think you're looking at another 4-2-ish game. I don't want to lay that juice, so I would go Vegas and under 7.5. If you want to place a bet in that game, I think that's good. That's about plus 110. I think that it very well could be a close 3-3 game, and then in the overtime, Vegas maybe pulls it out, but that's the way I would lean. I don't love these games today. The only bet that I really like is coming up in the next game. We'll get to that, but that's what I would do. I would go Vegas wins under 7.5.
Yeah, just as far as props go, I'm not giving up on Kyler Yamamoto. If you look at the expected goals for game one, he was right up there, with Cooley, Guenther, some of those other players for the Mammoth. So I like that as far as a goal prop tonight. Kyler Yamamoto, close shave. Barbashev, he scored last game. I like it. He was up there for Vegas as far as making it happen. Mark Stone is obviously a good playoff performer. I don't mind that. As far as point props, too, Tomas Hertl, he's collected a point in 2 straight games, including in game 1, and you're only getting plus 105 with that. And you're getting plus 105 with that, which is pretty good. Kraus, who I like as a goal prop, too, tonight for Utah. He's still on the top line. He's the kind of guy that you figure could have chances to score with that big frame in the playoffs. But his point prop is plus 150 to plus 160 just to get a point. And he has gotten a point in 2 straight games, including in game 1 for the Utah Mammoth. So Lawson Crouse, is another good prop look here in my mind for this game tonight. I would also look one more time Brett Out and Dorofeyev here for Vegas because they're alongside Mitch Marner, it looks like, on that second line. So to me, there's some pretty decent value for both of them maybe to make an impact here. All right, next up, we've got the last game for this Tuesday slate. Los Angeles, Colorado. Avalanche minus 280 home favorites, 5.5 the total. Avs looking to go up 2-0. I don't think the Avs were great on Sunday in game 1, but they did what they had to do to win the game. I thought LA actually played a pretty solid game, and Anton Forsberg was, for the most part in that game, outstanding. Gave them a chance. Vindicated DJ Smith for making the decision to make him the starting goalie to begin the playoffs and not Darcy Kemper, who didn't play great down the stretch for the LA Kings. But at the end of the day, tough loss, 2-1. And I feel like Colorado can flip it another notch, another gear. I don't know if LA's got that other gear. I just don't, and I think they're going to have certainly some concerns here as far as being able to defend this Colorado team. I think this could be an explosion out of the gate. This is a game where I actually do like a first period. And look, what are we talking about now with the first period? Only 2 have cashed in the first 3 days of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Only 2 first period overs. But, and one of them was the only game 1 was obviously Anaheim-Edmonton to go over in the first period. But the game 2 last night with Minnesota-Dallas it went over it feels like we could get the goals early. I like Colorado goal in the first 10 minutes as well. You'll be able to get that at a solid plus price, plus 1, I think it'll be around plus 130. For that Colorado goal in the first 10 minutes of the first period. And at FanDuel, I'm seeing it now. It's plus 180 for a goal in the first 5 minutes. This is just any team to score a goal in the first 5 minutes. I think it could happen tonight. We're not going to get that early, weird 1:00 p.m. start time in Denver. I think it'll be much more of a game day type of routine and feel to it this game. I think both teams, especially Colorado, will be, a lot more jump out of the gate. Yeah, plus 132 at Bet365 right now for Colorado to score in the first 10 minutes. So that, to me, is worth a look. I like the goal in the first 5 minutes at plus 180. That's worth a shot. Colorado home games, it's not cashed. I wouldn't say, I don't know what the percentages are, but a good chunk. Let's just call it that way, just to give you an estimate. A good chunk, a good handful of Colorado home games this year have had a goal in the first 5 minutes. That's why I think the plus 180, is definitely something worth a look. I don't mind people in the chat liking over 5.5. My concern is it's going to be one of these games where Colorado's going to have to carry the load for the offense here in this game. It's quite possible because we know with LA, and I loved what I saw at Wedgwood. When Wedgwood had those chances, or LA had those chances, Wedgwood was really, really sharp, really, really solid in that game, proving why he's the starting goalie to begin these playoffs for the Colorado Avalanche, not Mackenzie Blackwood, who I don't think played as well post-Olympic break compared to Scott Wedgwood. So those are the main looks. I mean, full game, I'm not on a whole lot here. I mean, maybe this is the game Colorado goes. Maybe I should bet the 3.5 because they didn't go over 3.5 in game 1. And my reasoning for betting Colorado team total over 3.5 in game 1, MJ, was the fact that they had scored 4 goals or more in pretty much every recent game against Los Angeles until that game 1. But before that 2-1 win in game 1, Colorado had put up 4 in LA against them, 5 at home against them, 4 in LA against them, 4 in LA against them, 4 at home against them, 4 at home against them, 5 at home against them. It's just been a consistency with them scoring 4 goals against the LA Kings. So I'm going to bet it just because I know if they get to 4 goals tonight and I don't bet it, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be upset. So give me that over 3.5 here with Colorado team total minus 104. What do you think here, MJ? LA, Colorado, game 2.
You're thinking along the same lines as I am. Just before I get to that, I saw some people in the chat saying that people hate the Bruins and this and that, and it's Utah did the same thing as the Bruins. And
before you jump in, I'm going to give you my thought on that quickly.
Yeah.
It's a different type of loss. That was a slow burn loss for Utah. That was a slow, gradual. Vegas tied it. Vegas took the lead, and then they closed it out. For Boston, it's like, what the fuck just happened? Because we're up 2-0, and all of a sudden we're down 4-2. This is not an anti-Bruins sentiment. That's a worse loss than Utah. You can't deny it. It's a much worse loss for the Boston Bruins. You dominated Buffalo for most of that game, way more than Utah dominated Vegas going into that third. You can't even compare it. It's a much worse loss, much more painful loss for Boston. Yeah, go ahead, MJ. Continue.
Yeah, time and place, right? 2-0 with 7.5 minutes left is totally different than 2-1 with a full period left. So, not only do you have a full goal difference, but you've got, 2/3 of a period difference as well. Like, it's not even close. The other thing, too, was Utah got a goal that was as freakish as you'll see. The guy kind of fans on the puck from the boards, and it goes off of the defenseman and into the open net. Like, I don't know. Totally different. We were also talking from a psychological perspective, too. Like, to recover from that for Boston is way different than what Utah is going through. When they can say, look, like, we had the lead and, we were playing pretty well and, they just were better in the third period and, the game kind of ran its natural course. Like, Boston was a choke. You can't say that about Utah. That's the difference. As far as the LA Colorado game goes, I was originally thinking just take the over 5.5 in, but the more you talk about it, I do kind of lean more towards the team total with Colorado. The thing with Colorado all year, and this, is their power play has just left a lot to be desired. I think it's largely because it's everything as it should in a way goes through McKinnon, but I just find he has the puck too much, and teams know that he wants to one-time it all the time, and that's really their only go-to. I love McKinnon. I think he's the second best player in the world, but I don't know if you've noticed this, Ian, especially this year. He hits the glass with his shots a lot. Like, it's almost like he's trying to let the kids behind the glass know, hey, I'm here. Like, he'll just tear. Like, I'm surprised he hasn't broken the glass yet. And he's got a hard shot. What I would like to see more is them. Like, it feels like Makar's an afterthought this year. His touches seem down. He doesn't seem as much of a threat. I'd like to see them use Nichushkin in the bumper and get him the puck. In those dangerous areas of the ice, make the box collapse, and then maybe Makar and McKinnon will have more room to shoot from the outside. It seems a lot. Their power play is either McKinnon shooting or him trying to find the seam to Natchez over and over, and teams know that. I love Lehkonen in front of the net. I think he's one of their very best players. Got a big goal in game 1. I think Colorado scores in this game. I think they kind of break through here. I think you made a great point about the start time. 1 o'clock local time is such a weird game time, especially for a playoff game. I think, LA would have been affected by that as well. I think they get a couple. If you remember, Panarin had a couple of glorious chances right in front of the net, and he kind of fanned on the puck. One of those goes in, and maybe it's a different game. You get some goals. So I like the over. I like Colorado to get on the board. I would normally say take a shot on LA, but Kopitar, he's my favorite player. I'll make no bones about it. I love that guy. I think he's one of the best players in terms of on and off the ice combo that you could ever have for the league. I think it's going to be tough for LA to recover losing him when he's gone, and that's obviously about to happen, but he just doesn't. He's not the same. He's lost a couple of steps, and he's the driver of that team. Doughty's been weak for a few years. Their blue line cannot transition the puck. And that's what I hate most about that team is that they really struggle on zone exits. I thought they were okay in game 1. I think they're going to have a lot more trouble tonight. And I just think Colorado is going to be too much. I think Colorado gets the
There's
5
just
here.
a significant lack of foot
Yeah.
speed and dexterity on that blue line for LA.
Yeah.
Doughty's an old
Yeah.
guy. Dumoulin's best days are behind him. His foot speed was never great to begin with. CC, same thing. I mean, that's the problem when you're going up against Colorado. Now, I thought actually there were moments where they had some good zone time against Colorado, but then there were some ugly moments where it was Forsberg bailing them out, multiple times. And I'm looking at these Forsberg numbers. They're spectacular. Like, we're talking almost 10 goals saved above average. That's insane, but it's got nowhere to go but down. Like, it's very, very hard to sustain that long term.
I was going to say too, he's been excellent. I've been with the way the goaltending has been this year in particular, it's been pretty bad. He's been a breath of fresh air. He's been really good. And with that said, I think Wedgwood's probably the best goalie in the West. So to take an over in this game is a little scary because of the goaltending. Those guys are playing really well, but I just think that Colorado's going to really make an effort to push pace here. They have such a speed advantage that I think it's just going to overwhelm LA's. Like, LA can skate up front a little bit. I think Kempe is probably the most underrated player in the league. Somehow that guy doesn't get talked about nearly enough, but I just think Colorado is going to get on the forecheck, turn some pucks over. I think you're spot on with your thought that the Colorado gets one in the first 10, maybe they even 2. Wouldn't shock me if this is 3-0 after the first, and then you should be able to get there from there, but maybe even 3-1. So I do think you're going to see some goals early, even though as good as the goaltending has been with these teams. I just think you bet the goals. You bet goals here. Colorado kind of runs. They've been so underwhelming the last 2 months. I think they know that. And at some point, I think they're going to turn it on. And this is as good of opportunity as you can have to do so. So I would look for goals here.
Yeah, there's one other thing, too, that's worth mentioning about the game one. It was not only the early start for Colorado, but think about what was on the line for them late in the regular season. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So they were kind of like going through, I guess you could say kind of, just as far as the motivation level and the inspiration on a game-to-game basis for the last several games, because they had already locked up first in the Central Division. They had already locked up the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. So they're playing those last several games like exhibition games. And then all of a sudden, game one against Los Angeles, you got to ramp up to that playoff level intensity again. It's not easy. And I think maybe that played into why it was a little bit of an underwhelming Colorado game one, a little bit from their standpoint, especially with the offensive execution that we saw in that game. Now they got that game under their belt. They got, and plus LA and Kempe and some other players kind of got under Colorado's skin. So now they got their playoff intensity, and focus and their playoff temperature back to where it should be after just coasting late in the regular season. And I think that will help Colorado tonight. I think you'll see much more of a playoff type of effort tonight from the Colorado Avalanche. Because keep in mind, when you've been just playing out the string like Colorado was the last 2 weeks, it's not easy to ramp it up right away for game one in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Not easy at all. So I think you'll see a better Colorado team tonight.
Hardest thing to do in sports, Ian, is turn it off and on. Like, anybody who's played any higher level, you'll always know, like, at the start of the season is always more difficult than when you're, in rhythm halfway through the season and you have a bunch of games under your belt. Exhibition games, guys that you normally expect a lot out of, they can really struggle just because they're not in rhythm yet. They're not feeling it. Their confidence might not be at the normal level that it's at. Maybe their wind isn't great. They're out of shape a little bit. Like, there's so many different things that can go on. So when you have a layoff like Colorado did, now they were playing games, but as you said, they weren't mentally checked in. So it takes a little while to kind of turn it back up. So hopefully for our sake and for anybody in the chat who's betting on them to score some goals tonight, it is tonight.
There you go. Good stuff. Like I said, very should be an interesting game. I think you'll see a better Colorado. So again, we're going to get involved here a little bit with them to score in the first 10, a goal in the first 5, and probably look toward the Colorado team total over 3.5 here. Again, they had scored 4+ in almost every single recent meeting against the Los Angeles Kings before that 2-1 win in game one. As far as props for this one, we've got as far as point props. I like, even though I like Colorado tonight, Laferriere has a point in 4 straight games for the Kings. -114 for him to get a point is a pretty good price. When you look at that, the goal prop's probably worth a sprinkle too for Alex Laferriere. Lehkonen scored, and O'Connor, of course, got the 2 goals in game 1. But I think this could be a game where, based on the lineup construction, they obviously could find the back of the net again. But, I like the idea of Landeskog with Kadri and Waugh maybe getting on the board. I'm going to go back to the well with Parker Kelly one more time. Nelson and Nichushkin. Nichushkin had some real good looks in game 1. A puck almost went in for him a couple of times. We know he's a playoff performer. He elevates at this time of year. He's been a good goal scorer at this time of year. So Big Val Nichushkin for the Colorado Avalanche. Certainly interested. Goal props for him tonight as well. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Alex had a virtual appointment to get to, so that's why he had to cut his appearance short today. We'll get his card, though, posted on the Patreon page later today. wizardsportspicks.com. Check that out. And, of course, patreon.com/iceguys, $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We get Alex's sides, totals, and player props, and bargain bin special posted on the page later today, as well as best bet. So check it out. $10 per month. Get on board, not only for the daily betting card, but as we mentioned earlier in the show, we've got our first NHL Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast tonight, exclusive to Patreon members. Tuesday, April 21st, tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, for Montreal, Tampa, Boston, Buffalo. Make sure you join us for that. Again, 7 p.m. Eastern, Patreon members only. Make sure you join us for the betcast. So get on board, $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. Looking forward to it. And we will try to do that. There we go. Some kind words for our guest MJ here. Get this guy on more. There you go. Excellent. Phenomenal.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
Very nice, kind words. We will. We'll get him on at least a couple more times during the Stanley Cup playoffs. And as well, of course, check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and your merch at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Check it out at the Ice Guys store. Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night. We had Dylan Cousins, the workhorse from Whitehorse, coming through for us last night for Ottawa with one of the bargain bin special selections. Hopefully we can add to it tonight. MJ, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
All right, so I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm not a goal prop guy. I don't want to fool anybody, and I never bet these. So I'm going to give one out, and I do believe there's some value with it.
You want to make a contribution to the segment. Absolutely. I get it.
Yeah. So I just don't want anybody to think, oh, I'm tailing this. I don't have any experience with this, but I saw Josh Doan. The threshold is plus 300 or better, right? Is that correct? Okay.
I'm positive it is. Let me just double check on Josh Doan. And yeah, he was on my bargain bin radar tonight too. Yeah, plus 320 is the best price.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what I saw last night on Bet365.
Good one.
So I'll give Josh Doan. I think he's a playoff type guy. He's a guy that'll go to the front of the net. You can get a rebound type goal, a deflection, a greasy type goal. And he's got the skill to shoot the puck in the net, obviously, as well too. So I saw he had the third highest or second highest expected goal total from game 1 for Buffalo. I think he gets on the board. His dad was a hell of a player. I remember him as a young kid. I saw him live a few times. And he had a playoff pedigree. I think his kid follows suit tonight and he gets on the board.
Good stuff. All right, as far as my bargain bin special of the night for this Tuesday night slate, let me just see here. Because there's a couple of good choices in mind. And I had narrowed it down to a few. Let me just see here. Because one of mine is going to be for Buffalo. I'm going to go with, let Let me just see here. I'm going to go with Benson tonight. Benson, he was involved the other night for Buffalo. I'll go with him at plus 450 at BetMGM for him to find the back of the net. Zach Benson, plus 450 for the Buffalo Sabres for my first bargain bin special of the night. Second bargain bin special of the night. He's going to get one tonight. I feel it. We talked about it, just the game we just talked about most recently, LA, Colorado. Big Val Nichushkin. He's a big game playoff performer, at least in years past. I thought he had some good looks in game one on Sunday that almost went in. I think he's going to bury one here tonight on Anton Forsberg and the LA Kings. So give me Big Val Nichushkin, Valerie Nichushkin. Call on me, Valerie Nichushkin, plus 350 at DraftKings. So there you go. Val Nichushkin, plus 350 Colorado, and Zach Benson, plus 450 for Buffalo for my two bargain bin specials of the night. Oh, Alex is in the chat. He posted his bargain bin. Yeah, he was doing a doctor's appointment for, the stuff he's been dealing with virtually, so he had to duck out. But he did post that his bargain bin, there it is. Nick Paul for Tampa Bay, plus 550 for Alex with his bargain bin special. All right, best bets, I should say, for this Tuesday slate. MJ, we'll start with you. What do you got for best bet?
So, Ian, you should be a DJ with all the bangers that you can pull out.
I know, I should, yeah.
You really should.
Wrong lot in life, yeah.
yeah. You missed it, man. So I was originally going to go with Kings Avalanche over 5.5, but the more I thought about it, I'm just going to stick with the Avalanche side of things. So I'm going to go over 3.5. Because I had the full game over in mind, I don't know the exact price, but it should probably come in around minus 115, minus 120. So that's what I'll go with. Avalanche team total over 3.5.
Yeah, who doesn't love Steve Winwood? Good stuff indeed. So what was your team? What was your best bet there, MJ?
Colorado Avalanche team total over 3.5.
You son of a gun! You're reading my mail. That's my best bet, and I ain't changing it. I like it too. Colorado Avalanche team total. Over 3.5. This is the game where it opens up. This is the game where the floodgates open. I didn't know Anton Forsberg was Kelly Rudy, Marty Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, Grant Fuhrer all of a sudden. This is a great stretch for him. Don't get me wrong. He's been tremendous. He got them into the playoffs down the stretch. He was better than Darcy Kemper down the stretch, but not tonight. This is tonight where it's going to come down crashing here. LA can only hold the fort for so long. Colorado wasn't even that great in game one on Sunday afternoon. Plus, they needed a game to ramp up to the playoff level again after coasting down the stretch of the regular season. I think it's a good spot to bet Colorado to win by margin tonight, but do so by getting to at least 4 goals, something they had done at pretty much every recent game head-to-head against the Kings before game one. I think they get back to putting up 4+ against LA, which they had become accustomed to doing before game one. So Colorado team total over 3.5, minus 104 for my best bet here for this Tuesday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. MJ, any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
I just want to say, Ian, I really appreciated you having me on. I think you guys do a terrific job. You can just tell every day by, your chat how much everyone respects you guys, how much that, they look forward to the show. Online, it's nothing but positive feedback, which is very rare, as you know. I think these people truly value the show. I know I do. And it's too bad Alex had to check out earlier. Love talking hockey with both of you. And hopefully we'll do this again soon. And everybody, good luck tonight.
And a shout out to Rachel Kryshak, who was with us yesterday. She did a great job. Once again, her picks were, for the most part, pretty good once again as well. So she'll be back as well, mostly on Mondays moving forward. We'll get MJ back throughout the playoffs as well. All right, and Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to that later tonight. Patreon exclusive. Get on board. We'll put up the banner before we sign off. 7 p.m. Eastern. There it is. Patreon exclusive live Betcast tonight. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex P. Smith, Mohammed Jama, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. See you in a few hours for the Patreon exclusive live Betcast, and again on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.